So in this video tutorial I thought we'd have a look at adding surface detail to a pretty basic sculpt really, and which is what we've got here. So I've modelled this little vase pot type thing, and you can see it's very low resolution. That's with just number 1 on the keyboard, and then we're smoothing on with number 3 there. So what we'll do is we'll just do a quick unwrap, I think, and then we'll be able to take this straight into ZBrush and sculpt in a few details, and then we'll take it from there. Okay, so let's go up to our tool set. So we're in polymodeling all the way over here. We've got our tool set there. I like to open up this one first, which is UV editor. Okay, this has already got some UVs cut into it, which you can see here. They're very simple ones. So I've just done a seam around the top, one that cuts straight down the side, one around the bottom. You see it better actually if I press 1 on the keyboard. There you go, easier to see. Okay, but you have got all that interior in there as well, so I really should be cutting that in as a separate thing. So I think what I'll do is I'm going to wipe out all these UV maps, or unwrapping of the UVs, and then we'll work through it together. Okay, so with this selected in object mode, I'm just going to apply like a flat planar type thing, which should wipe everything out, which is always a good place to start. But then I'm going to go into our UV toolkit. Here, do notice that I like to have my setup so I've got this UV layout here, I've got my actual mesh here, and then I've got all my toolkit here. So I'm going to go in here and I'm going to look for these cut and sew tools. Don't click any of them yet, but what we can do is we can go into here into edge, and we're going to cut in some edges to define where we'd like some seams to be. Okay, so I'm going to suggest one round the top there. So I've just double clicked there in edge mode and I'm cutting, and we'll do the same thing with that one there. Again, I'll cut. Do the same thing around the base here. I'll do it on that point there and cut. And the only other thing I'm going to do is cut a seam. Oh, hang on a minute, try again. Which goes right the way down the inside of here. So again, I could double click, but that's going to take this all the way around, and I really don't want to cut this element at the bottom up here. So what I'll do is I'll hold down Shift on my keyboard to go to negative, or in fact Control should be better. I think there's an error on mine, so Control is better to remove that selection. I seem to have accidentally selected this one as well, and I've done that, but effectively I should have this line that runs all the way up the middle. I'll zoom out a touch, all up here, all the way around over the top, down the back, and just make sure there's no extra sneaky points I've jumped in here. So again, that's Control on my keyboard. And again, what we'll do is we'll use the cut tool to cut that in, so we've got a nice set of seams there. Okay, so we can go back to object mode now. Let's have a quick double check. All my seams are nicely cut in, and we should be able to perform some sort of unwrap on this. Okay, so what we'll do is have a look at these unfold tools. Okay, so I like to unfold it straight away without much further ado. So we'll just pop into there. We'll do that, which is done. And that's unfolded it all on here. And we should, all being well, have our seams adhered to. However, we seem to have lost our seam in here, which is weird because I definitely cut that in. Anyway, never mind. We will go in and we'll cut that in now. I think it's, I'll just go into edge mode. I believe it's that one there. That looks right. And then we'll cut that. And then we'll go back to object mode, and then we'll re-unfold, and that should bring those back into play. Let's have a look anyway. If we right click, go to UV and UV shell, I should be able to select these shells individually, and then in here, if I press W on my keyboard, I can move them around. And there. And the only one that appears to be missing is the bottom one, which it's done a very strange thing with. It's kind of shrunk it down there. Okay, which is unusual, so bear with me a minute. Okay, so I think what it's actually done, then we just make sure we're in UV shell mode here. I think it has got it, and if I go in here, I think it's done it, but it's done it strangely. Rather than mapping it kind of directly onto the axis of that plane, it's attempted, very strangely, to map it along this axis. It's a bit of a weird thing to do, but anyway, there we go. Sometimes these things happen. I'm glad it happens while I'm doing a demo, which means it helps you through it. So if that is the case, select again the UV shell. Well, that one there, and then you could try planar mapping it, but again, sometimes that planar map will again try and use the wrong plane. So this one can be quite useful because it attempts to map it in all three axes, X, Y, and Z. Okay, so you can see it's done that there, and it has actually given us our flat plane here, which is exactly what we want. So we can click off that, and that's done. We've got our separate UV shells. So let's just tidy them up a little bit. Okay, so if we select them all, then we go into some of these tools which are just down here. Arrange and layout. We've got things like stack shells. That just pops them all on top of each other. That's okay, I guess. So it will actually, if you've got things all disparately spread out all over the place, that would work in bringing things together. You've got things like randomize. Not particularly useful. But what's really useful are things like layout. So if we select them all and do layout, it puts them all down in our 1x1 texture space. It might not have done the best job. I mean, we may decide that if we go in here, we might want to just tidy these things up just a little bit. Again, I mean, that you may even decide that you want to completely flatten that out to one straight line rather than having it as a circular piece. But I think it's probably going to work, so it will do for what we need. Again, the bits that which are interiors, like this bit, they're actually not that useful to us really, because we're probably not going to look inside the thing. So that's this bit and this bit. So they could afford to take up a little bit less space in the mapping here. But again, it doesn't really matter. So let's select everything again. I'll just tell it to do a new layout, and that will do us as our UV unwrapping. So what I'll do is I'll save this here, and then in the next video we'll have a look at correct export and import settings. Okay, see you then.